gentlemen seen your midterm grades yet?
Well, they're not posted yet, sir.
2 C's, 2 D's, and an F. That's a 1.2 grade average. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
This is WICR.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Happy opening day, I should say, actually, for the Mets at Citi Field. That's what I'm going to be talking about for this segment. So, pretty much the Mets are about to, first pitch is about in 5 to 10 minutes. I want to be talking about the Mets today because I want to talk about what my predictions are for them this season. Obviously, I'm a huge Mets fan, and I'm really excited after last season. Really disappointed, obviously, with the World Series performance, but I really wanted to touch up on how the Mets will, how I think they will do this year. So obviously, the Nationals hired Dusty Baker. So that was kind of the big move that really happened in the NL East. The Braves shipped off Andrelton Simmons. They got rid of Shelby Miller also. So doesn't really that big of a shakeup in the division. The Braves are obviously going to be worse. All they really have is Freddie Freeman in that lineup. The Phillies prospects are kind of in AAA. They're coming up. They're not going to be that great. Obviously, the Marlins, they didn't really add that much either. They have Jose Fernandez for a full year, and they signed Chen from the Orioles, I believe, is where he pitched last. And then going to the Nationals, they added Dusty Baker, obviously, signed Daniel Murphy from the Mets. And the Mets obviously retained Yoenis Cespedes, signed Antonio Bastardo. Kadire retired. That rhymed. Kadire retired. Then they had their pitchers all back and healthy, except for Zach Wheeler's coming back in June, right around the All-Star break, recovering from Tommy John surgery. So anyways, I wanted to talk about the expectations for the Mets and how far I think they will go, how many games they'll win. I think this team, we know the core to it. It's got a couple flaws, obviously, still. That middle of the infield isn't the greatest thing in the world, but I think it is upgraded after last year with Murphy's defensive blunders. Wilmer Flores is not a shortstop, so they got Asdrubal Cabrera there and Neil Walker to go and fill in that. It's already looking like a much better double play combo over there. So I think the key thing for the Mets this year is to keep beating up on the Phillies and beat up even more on the Braves, and obviously can't drop any games at home to the Nationals. They really can't afford to do that. I think that the Nationals aren't even going to be as tough as everyone thinks they are. They don't really have that much of a starting staff aside from Scherzer and Strasburg. Even if Strasburg's that great, everyone's primed him to do top 5 in Cy Young voting, which I don't think is going to happen. When his arm release, I think he's a little too predictable. He's had too many injuries over the years to really establish himself as one of the better starters in baseball. But after that, the bullpen is a mess. Apparently they figured out the whole rift between Bryce Harper and Jonathan Papelbon, which is pretty good news for them. They have Anthony Rendon back now. They have Ryan Zimmerman's at first base. Worth isn't really looking that great with that big contract. So I don't think there's too much for the Mets to worry about over there. Bryce Harper really doesn't perform that well against the Mets pitchers. The Mets starters for that, because I know he has a really tough time going against Matt Harvey. And there's something about Noah Syndergaard this year that really looks like he's about to start separating himself from the DeGroms and the Harveys, and I think he really has a chance to catapult himself into the Scherzer, Kershaw range. Not this year for Kershaw, but totally has the potential to kind of get near that realm of kind of this godly pitcher that just like good luck when you face him. His performance, it really caught my eye last year when I went to go watch him in the World Series at Game 3, and he threw that up and in pitch to Escobar to go and send a message. That's when you kind of knew he was there, he was ready. And to be able to throw a guy like that out as your third starter. He's projected as the number 3. Obviously, he started the second game because there were some labor worries for Jacob deGrom's wife as he's having his first kid, but he's starting today. So if you have a guy like that throwing your third time out in a game 3 of a series, it's how are you going to compete? And that's what's going to be keeping the Mets in it for the most part of the year and the playoffs too if they get there, which I think they will. The underrated part about them is that they have pitching, and even if the offense isn't that great, they have the pitching to keep themselves in every single game. There are some worries, though, in the bullpen and how Terry's going to manage that. Sometimes he overpitches a lot of guys. Familia did throw a lot, but he used to be a starter in the minor leagues. Is fun fact that a lot of people don't know, so I think he can take the arm issue well over there. I don't think he's really going to have that much of a problem. Also, Antonio Bastardio and Jerry Blemons are great to have as lefty matchups, and even when they get Josh Edgin back too, that'll be a huge addition there. And all the biggest worry for me though is just going to be Terry Collins and seeing how he's going to be able to manage against teams like the Royals when they get to the playoffs, because I think the real big contender against them isn't going to be the Cubs. I think it's really going to be the San Francisco Giants or the Pirates, depending on who wins that NL Central. Really will depend on what's going on there. I have him pegged going 92-70 for the year, which is very doable, especially with the Phillies and the Braves in their division. The Marlins are kind of like iffy half the time, but I do think they're going to be taking a lot of wins against the Nationals at home this year. I think they really got over the mental hump last year after the Flores walk-off. The whole season did a 180. It was a turnaround, and even just the fact that they were getting beat up so much by the Nationals over the past couple of years. The fact that they really established the fact that they're not going to take any more of their bullying per se, and they're going to fight back in there, and they are just as good as the Nationals, and if not better. And I think they proved that. But looking into it, going into the playoffs, I think it's going to be really tough to go and beat the San Francisco Giants. I think they have their pitching is the closest thing as a starting staff to the Mets in the National League. I really and the Cardinals too, but I don't think the Cardinals have enough in general to go and make it that far. I think I'm going to have the Giants and the Mets matching up in the NLCS if they do get if the matchups end up going like that way. But I think the Giants fundamentally have the best infield in the National League. I think Panik, Duffy, Crawford, and Brandon Belder, just a great group of guys together. And Bruce Bochy is the best manager in baseball, in my opinion. I think he's done a fantastic job. Obviously, they won 3 championships in 5 years, and the whole even year kind of thing is already going in their way, and they're playing great baseball to start the year. So yeah, and you know, I think the Mets are really going to be able to make a run again, but you know, anything can happen. The baseball saying is you're only as good as your next pitcher, and the Mets have a ton of them. Even if they put Wheeler in the bullpen over in the postseason, who knows? Maybe it'll turn out and work wonders for them. So that's my prediction for the Mets this year. I have them going 92-70. They're going to get to the NLCS, but they're going to fall short there, and I think eventually the Giants are going to end up winning the whole World Series, beating Kansas City in the World Series in a rematch of 2 years ago. So that'll do it for this segment. I'm going to have 4 more segments today. I'm going to be talking about Noah Syndergaard, Boston Celtics, and lots of AC Milan stuff. All right, I'm Martino Puccio, and I'll be back in a bit.